I'm going to do it, it's going to be a bit of a bilingual ceremony because we have a few texts in French and a few texts in English. Barbara White, as you know, obtained her, or perhaps you don't know, obtained her doctorate in 1965 at Columbia University. And who could have imagined that the subject, which was Renoir's development from 1877 to 1887, was going to affect her whole life. Since her very first position as lecturer at Queen's College in 1959 to her 2002 nomination as Emeritus Professor at Tufts, she has defended and encouraged French art during the whole time she taught, and now when she does her research in the Impressionist period, which is my period too. As well as her eminent academic career, Barbara has published 3 essential seminal books on this period. The first, which was Impressionism in Perspective, which was published in 1978, was an anthology of articles on Impressionist art and the topic of Impressionism and its reception by the critics of the time. That was very successful, but she followed it with a second, which was a blockbuster, one might say. Renoir and His Life, Art and Letters, which was published by Abrams in 1984. And then in French by Flammarion in 1985. She managed to sell 125,000 copies of this book, and it's still in print. And it is one of the most important, if not the most important, book on Renoir ever published. It's still in print, and you can get it on Amazon if you want it. It's still in print, and I'm sure she'd be happy. The third book was called Impressionists Side by Side, and this was very, very interesting to all Impressionist scholars, including me, obviously. That was published in 1996, and it's a book that studies the relationships between Impressionists and their correspondence and their friendships and their arguments, and it's incredibly interesting book. It takes artists by pairs and compares their writings, compares their letters, and that was also very successful. She's been a very successful writer. Joaquim Pissarro wrote, Your wonderful accomplishment. This is one of the most significant and enlightening publications recently produced in the field of Impressionists, with some extremely telling and informative comparisons. I cherish this book. And you absolutely. Very, very good. And you know that you can read it like a novel, and that's a really big compliment for an art history book, when you can read it for pleasure, not just for research. You might think that Barbara might feel like resting on her laurels, or even retiring, but no, she has a 4th book ready to go, and she's at present looking for a publisher, so if anyone's the working title is Renoir Revealed, a Generous Wheeler-Dealer, and it was written because she had access to over 3,000 extant letters between Renoir and his friends. So Barbara is obviously the ideal candidate, as far as I'm concerned, for this honour, and 3 of her friends and colleagues were instrumental in her obtaining this honour. The first is my friend Ted Reff, who is Professor Emeritus of Art History at Columbia University, and himself a Commandeur de l'Ordre des Arts et des Lettres. And he wrote to me, I have known Barbara for 50 years, since the time she earned her PhD in art history at Columbia University in the mid-1960s, and have remained in contact with her and followed her work ever since. Barbara White has long been recognised as one of the most distinguished scholars of Impressionism, and especially of Renoir's life and work. With her 1965 dissertation on a key mid-career phase of Renoir's development, supervised by Maya Shapiro and myself, Barbara White established herself as a major scholar. But it was with her book, Renoir, His Life, Art and Letters, lavishly produced and widely distributed in the United States and Europe, that she reached a larger public. Barbara White's next book, Impressionists Side by Side, Their Friendships, Rivalries and Artistic Exchanges, brought to light many little-known aspects of this much-studied movement, as well as rarely seen works of art. Dans une lettre du 13 mai 2013, Sophie Renoir, arrière-petite-fille du peintre, écrit « Je suis vraiment ravie que Madame Barbara White reçoive cette décoration prestigieuse. Madame White a travaillé sur la vie de mon arrière-grand-père Auguste Renoir d'une manière si intense, minutieuse et précise qu'elle vérifie au moins 3 fois tout ce qu'elle découvre. Elle a une telle connaissance d'Auguste que sa vie n'a plus de secret pour elle. Son travail fait avec un mélange d'admiration et de justesse est très rare et généreux de sa part, car passer autant d'années dans la recherche de documents, de lettres, de photos est tout simplement incroyable. Plusieurs membres de la famille et moi-même lui avons confié des documents précieux en toute confiance pour qu'elle puisse poursuivre ce devoir de mémoire si important. C'est une femme passionnée à qui je demande souvent des détails sur mon arrière-grand-père car elle est vraiment la personne qui le connaît le mieux. Et même si elle a un doute, elle met un point d'honneur à trouver la réponse rapidement. Elle mérite que tout ce travail soit enfin reconnu officiellement. Madame Barbara E. White a toute mon admiration comme femme et comme auteur. And the third person is my friend Gabe Weisberg, Professor Gabe Weisberg, who wrote on Friday to me by email. Barbara White has spent her entire career working on the works and writings of Auguste Renoir. Her contributions to a study of his work have been legendary and unique. Her books, essays, independent articles have been extensively useful to other art historians over all these years. She also has a definite impact on the ways people appreciate and study Renoir. This award by the French government is for her lifetime achievement. It is fortunate that you are able to honour her work in the midst of her family, friends and colleagues. Chère Barbara, m'avoir demandé de vous remettre cette décoration me touche et m'honore. Votre travail sur Auguste Renoir m'interpelle d'autant plus que les artistes dont je m'occupe, Jacques-Émile Blanche et Julie Manet, admiraient et aimaient ce peintre. Vous avez aidé la France à comprendre Renoir et vos publications et votre travail sont essentiels à l'œuvre de l'artiste. Tout ce travail de passionné est enfin justement récompensé. Barbara Ehrlich White, par les pouvoirs qui me sont transmis par le gouvernement français, je vous remets la croix de Chevalier dans l'Ordre des Arts et des Lettres. Now, hold on, I'm going to do this. That's officially French, the French way.